What's going on, fitness coaches? Welcome to another episode of the Change Lives Make Money on the Trainer podcast. So once a week, we do Monday with the Marks. And I believe that having a strong foundation of your relationship is like paramount to success in business, life, fitness, relationships, all of it. So once a week, we talk relationships because that's what we should do, right?
But I think the topic of relationships is important, whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship, it doesn't matter. I think it's important.
Yeah. And it's usually a relationship, but this week it was a relationship.
Last week, Brian was hands down.
A relationship. A relationship. We do these podcasts every week. And I was like, I feel out of alignment not talking about the fact that we fought because I feel like people see us on social media and they're like, oh my God, they're always happy. Blah, blah, blah. And and I think that it's because a lot of like couples on social media don't share when they actually fucking fight. So like we fucking fought this week. We went at each other's throats.
Last podcast, like honestly, everything's so good with us. We have a podcast, and there was one time we did a podcast, and we quite literally tried to fake it until we made it. Like it was like a podcast where we were both annoyed, we were not in a good place.
Yeah.
And we did it, and someone like called it out, and they're like, "What is like the energy's weird today?" So it's good to just like take your dirty laundry and lay it out.
So take your dirty laundry and lay it out. We're laying it out, and like, why are we laying it out? Like, what's the purpose of us laying it out? Well, like. At the end of the day, Kirsten and I made a commitment to be life partners, right? Partners in life, which means that we're not always going to see eye to eye. So I want to talk a little bit about the conflict. Then we're going to talk about the conflict resolution. And the wound was fresh. We just resolved it yesterday. So we shook hands before the podcast. And we're like, you can't be mad at me and I can't be mad at you for anything you say.
Sure.
We shook. I don't know. Do you want to start? Okay. The only thing I've given a fuck about over the course of the last like 8 weeks is getting the gym open. Like I literally haven't cared about anything else. Like my fitness goals went to shit. My like self-care routines went to shit. Like I would say I'm working on PT domination for 3 to 6 hours a day. And when I'm not working on PT domination, I'm literally at the gym, whether that be like moving equipment myself, planning when we're going to open, talking to contractors, like the only thing I've been focused on for the last 8 weeks has been literally getting the gym open. Everything else is second place. And fertility. Yes, that's true. So like I've been working on my fertility. So I literally have been following my fertility protocol like fucking perfectly. And that's really been the only thing I've focused on. But then I was just like, I'm just going to wait until I get back into a fitness competition to fucking care about the way that I look.
Okay, perfect. That's all I needed. That was everything that set me up for exactly what. So we're just going to be super honest. So I'm kind of like watching from afar, and I feel like Brian has this self-limiting belief that in order for him to look good, he needs to get off like the fertility basically get me pregnant, and then, which we don't know when that's going to happen. Like it could be in a month, it could be in 2 years. Like we've been trying for quite some time now. So I'm watching him, and I'm like, oh, he's like letting his self-care slip. Then I start to notice over the last month, like he hasn't got his beard trimmed at all.
I haven't given a fuck.
Fuck. I like
the beard is bearding right now. She thinks I look like a homeless person.
Generally, even if he trims it, it looks better, but I just love his little baby face. I love his jawline. He has the most perfect face. Anyways, I started to feel myself almost disconnected.
This is funny.
So there was a moment in our relationship where I got highly obsessed with filler and Botox. And one day Brian looked at me and he's like, you need to stop filling your fucking like face with shit and walking around like this. And then I it hurt my feelings so bad. I went to bed that night and I was like, am I ugly? Like, do I not think I'm attractive anymore? And then now I look back at videos and you guys, I was like getting to a point where my face didn't look like my face anymore. And I care deeply about how Brian abused me. I'm never going to change my core values for Brian, but I want him to think I'm like the sexiest woman in the world. Who doesn't want their partner to think that? So I stopped getting as much filler and Botox, and I still go because I like it. Okay, I like it, but I haven't gotten filler in like probably a year, and I go for my Botox every like 8 to 12 months. And I was going to the clinic like once a month.
Yeah.
And looking back at that now, I'm so grateful that he had a conversation with me. And there was a conversation where we had in bed where he's like, you're so naturally beautiful. He's like, I love the way you look when you don't. So it was like, it came from a place of love. So overall, it was a really big moment. And so I started to feel that way about him. I was like, dude, he's like letting his beard go. He's going and doing like 40-minute workouts. He's not eating well. We're like eating snacks every weekend. And meanwhile, he has way more on his plate than me, but I'm like taking care of my shit. Like I'm going to yoga every day. I'm still like running once a week. I'm like doing all these things. And so I started to feel like less attracted to him, because what attracted to me to him in the first place was he was like all about self-care, what he wore, like going to the gym, taking care of his body, eating foods that make him feel good. And I was like, you just like he was like letting himself go. So I sat down with him, and it literally like tore my soul out of my body, because this person is working like so incredibly hard. And I was like, maybe I need to just let it go, but it was affecting my interactions with him. So I was like, I need to bring this up from a place of like love. And I also asked myself, if I was in the exact same situation that he was in now, would I want him to not say anything and wait, or would I want him to say something? And 100%, I was like, I would want him to say something. So I sat him down on the couch. Because I love him so much. I love him so much. I do. And I was like, I think like you are like self-abandoning and not like putting yourself first, and just not putting any energy or effort into like your fitness or like what you eat, or like even just now it's like even just like trimming your beard. Like you used to go every week to trim your beard. So I told him that.
So that's kind of what sparked it. So I like that we're having this conversation organically. We didn't plan this at all, by the way. There's no plan. We're just going to go in and we're going to wing it. That was definitely part of it. But I will say that I remember when I had that conversation with you with like filler, and I was very blunt. I was like, you look like the girls that we make fun of on TV. I'm like, you need to stop. I'm like, you need to stop. So I remember I was very direct. And so when she was direct with me, and she's like, you need to shave your fucking beard, basically. She's like, you need to trim it. It looks really bad. I just like, I was like, I just took it. I was like, I understand. But like on my end, we've been dealing with like a lot of stress, because I'm going to go in. I don't care at all. We went away, and our daughter got into a little bit of trouble. We're not going to go into that. Just a little bit of trouble. But we got into a little bit of a disagreement over how it was handled. And so like there was that tension of like our fucking daughter got into a little bit of trouble, and like we were like not seeing eye to eye on how it should be handled. Then there was that.
A lot better. I felt like my trust been betrayed.
Thank you.
I realized that like I don't have a channel for my anger, and I take my anger out on the people closest to me, and I say things that they're not nice. Like the best thing I can describe it as is like, I'm a fucking bitch, and you just like do not want to be anywhere near me. Once the anger has passed, sadness comes in, and I am like hysterical. And like all these emotions come out, which he receives a lot better than me just being like short and like snappy and mean. So I do have a game plan for next time. So that was like, there was that.
So there was fucking, my beard is ugly. Then there was our daughter was a little bit of a shithead, and we were like co-parenting through the fucking situation. There was that. And then there was the fact that like, dude, I've worked on my abandonment issues a lot, but one thing I like really suck at is like, I really suck with like hot and cold communication. And so like I told Kirsten in the middle of the week, I'm like, you're very hot and cold to me right now. I'm like, again, it's very confusing and it's very hard. And so at the middle of the week, I literally like had to draw a boundary, and I'm like, if you continue being hot and cold with me, I will no longer sleep in the bed with you tonight, because I want to go to bed. I was like, I will sleep on the couch. I'm like, I want to fucking sleep in peace, and I want to go to bed like peacefully. And like that still caused a little bit of anger. So we kind of like took a little bit of space. We took like 12 hours of space. And then when you like, I feel like your self-defense mechanism is anger. Like you get like really angry, but then as soon as the anger passes, you show me how you really feel. It was like once the anger self-defense mechanism calmed down, and she's like, this is how I really feel. And she was sad. I was like, okay, I can't be mad at you anymore. You're fucking sad.
Okay, so I actually want to break this down, you guys, because 5 years ago, if we would have gotten into this same argument and Brian said he needed space for me, I would have panicked. I probably would have chased him out of the house.
I remember. So Sunday, I literally said, I need you to give me because we have this rule. By the way, I think you should have rules in your relationship for like how you deal with conflict. We have a rule, and our rule is that if one person needs to take space from the other, they need to give the other person a definitive timeline for which they need the space. Because I've disappeared. I'm like, fucking leave me alone. So now it's like when I leave, or like if I need space or she needs space, I'm like, I need space. You need to give me 12 hours. Leave me alone for 12 hours. Do not fucking talk to me. Like I need to fucking cool off. And she's like, okay. So then I went away for like 2 hours. And then
I was like, and time's just passing. And then I watched our wedding video, and I was like, I love him so much. And like, I know we're supposed to be together. And I get like fear of abandonment or fear of like, he's going to leave. And I almost brings back our past situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just like, I literally cried. I typed out messages to send to him and I said, don't do that. That's not part of the rule. I like typed out nice messages. I typed out mean messages. I just cried about everything. I cried about everything going on, like with like my family life. I cried about everything going on with him and I. Life just felt like really, 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 really heavy. And a lot of emotions came up. And it wasn't even emotions just from him leaving. It was emotions that were allowed to come up because I almost used him as like an emotional vice. Like, you'll make me feel better if you just stay here so I don't actually have to face what's truly going on. So I'm telling you guys, I like snot running from my nose. I feel puffy. Like, I just cried for hours and hours and hours. And then I was in the bedroom and I was like, I need to go to yoga. I was like, what I would usually do is message him, call him multiple times, like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm like, I need to like take care of me throughout this space. So got into my fucking yoga clothes with my fucking puffy eyes, like crying. And then I hear someone walk into the room and Brian had said 12 hours of space and it had been 2. And I was like, Haley? I thought it was Haley. But I'm like, Haley was not. And then he came in and I was like, wait, it's only been 2 hours. Why are you here? And then we sat.
And I think that like, this is like, the thing is like, I think that like when you and your partner are both heated, like, I think that nothing productive happens in those situations. When both people are like fucking like at each other's throats, like, I think nothing productive happens in those situations. And I think that like, when that happens with us, like, I'm like, we need to fucking distance ourselves, especially if we like, because sometimes like, I feel like over like minor disagreements, like you can usually like hash it out. Like, we might not agree, but we can hash it out and like squash it there. But I think it's because it was like a bunch of things stacked. Like, we just got back from vacation. When we get back from vacation, I always feel fucking amazing right away. Like, I can just turn it on. She needs like 3 days to herself, which is fine. But we had like, so there's that. And then there's the fucking, our 16-year-old daughter got into a little bit of shit and we're like co-parenting and we're both dealing with this situation. So there's that. Then there's my ugly beard. Then there's that. Then there's the hot and cold thing where it's like, I don't like this hot and cold thing. Like, I don't resonate with this. Like, I don't resonate with like, I come home one day and you're like, or during one part of the day and you like love the fuck out of me. And then I come home the other part of the day and you don't look me in the eye. Like, I'm like, I fucking hate that. Like, I don't like that. So there's like all these things stacked on top of it. And then we're like, we just need space. But like in the space, I feel like when you're with your person, once you take the space and you both cool down, I think you actually need to take the space. I think that's why we actually like try to just not talk to each other when we're fucking pissed off because we say things we don't mean. And then I will text like mean things. And then fucking 2 days later, we have to apologize if we said something rude. So it's like, we just don't talk. Like, even though it's hard, we just don't talk. And then we're able to like come together and fucking have an emotional and vulnerable conversation. And I'm able to be like, I understand I look like a homeless person, but I've been like working 16-hour days. You know what I mean? And you're like, I understand that I get moody sometimes, but I got this going on. And it's like, then we're able to like see each other's perspectives and understand each other instead of like at each other's throats.
Yeah. Like, I feel really misunderstood a lot of the time. And I felt like it was one thing to have Brian sit down and talk to me about the way that I was communicating with Haley because it was not productive, but I felt very hurt in that moment. But then I had another person over here, we won't name, who I just like don't value their opinion when it comes to that. And it almost felt like an attack. And I was like, I already took this in. I already know like I'm not perfect. And the problem is that like when stuff like this comes up, it almost triggers my past trauma and things that I have to work through. And it's hard for me to meet people where they're at and to feel like empathy and be able to problem solve when I feel like my own mind is like chaos and anger and frustration. So I felt like nobody understood what I was going through. And I think it kind of then rooted back to me being like 16 and feeling like, I don't know if anybody's ever understood because my story is very unique and a lot of people haven't gone through that. And I talk so much about like how Haley's the best thing that ever happened to me. And hands down she is, because I honestly don't know if I'd be here if it wasn't for Haley. I was not on a good path, but it was the hardest thing I've ever done. The hardest thing I've ever done. And I still struggle because from a young age, I skipped this entire space that most teenagers go through. And so it felt like I almost was like that little girl again. And everyone was like so mad at me. And I felt like I did when I was like 15 and nobody understood me. And I locked myself in my bedroom and I would just scream. That's how it felt. Like I literally felt like I was 15 again. And I was like, nobody gets me. And I almost like needed to throw a temper tantrum. And then I eventually, holy fuck. After that, like emotional release, I felt like a brand new woman. Like today, I'm like, fucking lay it on me. I feel good.
Yeah.
And I kind of see myself differently. So
yeah. And I think that like as the man in the relationship, like if my wife ever gives me feedback, I will take it to heart. There's some things that she thinks I should shave my beard off. That'll never happen. I'm just letting you know. That'll never happen. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm just letting you know. The beard's never leaving. However, I receive your feedback. I need to trim it. It's a little bit obnoxious. Okay. So like, I get it. So like, I'll receive feedback from my wife, but I also am not going to like compromise things that I like for her. But I also am like, okay, I kind of do look homeless. So there's that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's called that raw honesty relationship. It sucks when you're in it, but you fucking need it. Cause I'd rather, yeah. Yeah.
One person's like extremely hot with a beard. Like I just love baby face, except for you.
You piece of shit. Okay. No. I'm fucking talking now. It's my turn. So like I'll receive feedback from Kirsten and I will always take it to heart. I'll never compromise myself. And I have this like rule because I think it's like as the man in the relationship, like oftentimes like I believe that your woman just wants to be heard. So like when Kirsten's going through a really hard time, I will do this thing where I just like, when I realize that she just needs to talk to me, I'm like, yes. I'm like, what else? What else is going on? How else do you feel? But I think it's important to have a boundary. And I talked to Kristen about this. I'm like, I will be super, super open with you. And I will be like, I will shut the fuck up and I will like listen to anything you need. But then if it's like the same thing for like 3 days in a row, and it's like, we're talking about the same shit. I'm like, at some point, you're like making a decision to be angry about this thing instead of this thing happening. And then you're angry about it. So I think it's important to like have open space for your partner, but also boundaries.
Brian is the most terrifying person in the world to talk to. Well, can you like talk to him for us? Because he was so like he's a successful human being, but he was like, I tolerate no bullshit. But sometimes your bullshit is like emotions that need to be heard. And so over the last year, I swear to God, this human is a completely different person in how he approaches me, how he approaches my emotions, and how like he sees me and hears me, which was also what made sitting down with him and just being like, hey, like we need to clean it up a little bit more challenging. But what I'll also say is how well he received it. He was like, honestly, he's like, you're right. He's like, I have not focused on anything outside of the gym. And in that moment, he's like, setting goals. He's eating better. He went and bought some like protein powder. He's like,
I ran out of protein powder like a month ago and I didn't buy any new shit. That's how much I haven't cared. I literally haven't. I'm like, if the gym gets open, I will fucking die on the sword. I'm like, if I need to sleep at the gym to get it open, I'll sleep at the gym to get it open.
Yeah. You need to start putting like you need to start filling Brian Mark's cup. And he received it so well. Like he wasn't even upset. He was like, I hear you. And obviously like you probably felt the same way I felt with the Botox and filler. It's like it hurts a little bit, but mostly just like.
I knew you're right though, because when you said it to me, I was like, I'm aware of that. Like I'm the one that's been canceling my fucking haircut. You know what I mean? Like I know that. So it's like I was like, yep, you're right. You're just holding up a mirror to something I already know. Yeah. That was our last week. Fucking the year 3, month 4, still here. No, we're year 3 married.
We've been together for like 6 years, and this was probably
August, September, October, November. Yeah, we're year 3, month 3. We're doing good. Stay tuned. We are very, very, very honest with each other. Like if there's ever like she'll come out, she'll be wearing an outfit. She's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Ugly."
I also wear it. And especially the Botox and filler thing. I'm thinking like when you said, "Oh, there's people that we make fun of." I don't. If you want to fill your face with whatever shit you want to, I honestly, truly feel at the end of the day, what matters most is how you feel.
I disagree. I think I disagree. I think there's a certain point where you look like a fucking duck that quacks. They got a fucking duck lips.
Like,
I disagree. I know. I just like, there's a certain point where like I see a girl and I'm like, oh my God, you have more work on your face than you have face. And I don't like that. I don't like that. And they probably look at me and say I'm fucking homeless, whatever.
This podcast on its own, I think a lot of the time you're like trying to fill your face and you just need to be actually feeling like your soul instead of, you know what I mean? So a lot of the time.
That's it's a podcast for your pod. Yeah, it's a podcast for your pod.
But it's like I was trying to like, I get it. Like I get that where it's like more. But a lot of the time the work needs to be internal. So
one thing I will say is like we literally just talked about a fucking massive fight we just had and we're like laughing and shit.
Yeah,
So like that goes to show you the work that we have done in our relationship because we have done like a lot of work in our relationship.
Before we got on this podcast, you guys, we were like, we're just gonna go there.
I was like, we're just gonna fuck it. Whatever comes out, comes out.
If someone's POS, you're saying that is like it goes deeper than that. So
well, also they don't understand the context of our relationship. Like I don't want to be with a partner that like lets me fucking let myself go. I don't.
Like
that's not the life I want.
Baby, wherever we're at, like I want to be that fucking like fit couple that people are like, look at them in all areas. And I'm like, and I know that's what you want too. And like, you're not playing at that level right now. So it's like holding your partner to a higher standard. And like, people won't have these conversations because they're afraid the person's going to walk away. But if someone gets threatened when you challenge them to like step into their potential, then that's on them. It's not on you. Right. Or if someone doesn't feel like they need to change, but it is a very big issue that like you can't stop thinking about and it comes up, then there needs to be a discussion because it's not just going to go away.
Agreed. Well, we're still alive. We still made it.
We still made it. Yeah, we were on the rocks there. It almost was like we're woo. Almost only made it to year 3, people. Be out here.
We're not. It wasn't that serious. It wasn't that. We were just pissed off.
Watch our wedding video and cry. I did. I was like, I love him so much.
We're not perfect. But we have strategies to keep ourselves fucking on the same page.
That arguments and honest conversations like this will make it inevitable that like we won't have any surprises. Like one of us won't just like, I'm leaving because of all this pent up resentment that we haven't talked about. So like us bringing up these uncomfortable like conversations and having these arguments are actually like helping us work through them and become stronger. Whereas if I didn't say anything, but you could tell that I was disconnected from you and I was like distancing myself from you, that would create a bigger problem in the long run. So it's like short-term pain for long-term gain. And it was definitely short-term pain here. One of the mornings I've had in a very long time to one of the best afternoons because we like get each other and we're committed.
Whenever we're done fighting, we always hug each other and we're like, are we friends again?
Yeah, are we friends again? Or like I know he walks in and then he'll like look at me like this. He'll be like, he's there. He loves me. There are times where I can see him and he's like, get this bee away from me. Get this bee away from me. And I'm like, oh, my heart. And so he'll always come back and always give me look like, okay.
Oh shit. All right, guys. Hopefully you guys got value from today's episode. We always do a relationship talk once a week. Mondays, 1:45 p.m. PST. So if you guys want to tune into the relationship talks, that's dope. Also, side note, we are doing a couples retreat in Salt Lake City, Utah. If you guys are interested, DM Kirsten on Instagram. Okay.
Yeah.
DM Kirsten on Instagram. Yeah. Just say Utah. We will get you the details. All right. Much love, you guys. Have the best day of your entire lives. And I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Hopefully you got some value. If you did, and you want to learn more about how me and my team can help you scale your online fitness business to $10,000 a month, DM me 10K on Instagram at TheRealBrianMark for more information, and I'll reach out to you to see if I can help you grow an online coaching business.